Welcome once again, and let's take you through the newspapers now and share with you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this Tuesday morning. We have Ikechukwu Amaechi joining us to share his views on these stories. Kicking off on the Punch newspapers, we have here, inside story, how hubris and intrigues, power play, sealed Obasa's fate. Deputy Speaker Miranda sworn in as Lagos' first female speaker. Sanwo-Olu claims innocence.
I didn't, yeah.
Again, Boko Haram strikes in Borno, kills 40, abducts scores. Tomorrow is Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Port rehabilitation delayed despite $700 million loan. Tariff hike, telcos and ICT firms owe banks 1.69 trillion naira. Coronation date fixed as Alafin designate gets staff of office. And also gospel singer arrested with severed core members' head in Nasarawa. That's one of the most terrible stories we've heard this year in Nigeria. Tax bill, Senate meets federal government team, plans public hearing. And these are the major stories on the Punch newspapers this morning.
All right, and let's go to our next paper. The next paper we have this morning is the Nigerian Tribune on the front page. No guarantee yet there will be no more grid collapse, according to Power Minister. Well, it says system crashed only 8 times in 2024, only, and the keyword. Insecurity, vandalism, poor infrastructure remain major threats to grid. Police arrest gospel singer caught with girlfriend's head in Nasarawa. That was a very heartbreaking story. Former college registrar found dead at home in Plateau. Ibadan stampede. Court admits Naomi Oriyomi, principal, to 10 million naira bail, 2 shorties each. Loss of revenue, National Assembly Joint Committee on Finance to probe MDA's over 4 trillion naira shortfall. Makinde presents new Alafin staff of office certificate. You can see the picture there. Threatens to prosecute Oyomesi over bribery allegation. Coronation will hold in 4 weeks. Ayahu resumes as PDP National Secretary. Supporters storm Secretariat. 36.35 trillion naira revenue target. How we will realize our projection, Minister of Budget says. Why Obasa was sacked as Lagos Assembly gets first female speaker Miranda. Clerk suspended. Interestingly, it's not a big story in the Nigerian Tribune, but let's start with that. Everyone is talking about the sacking of Obasa. So let's get your thoughts on it. You've heard the story, you've heard the reasons that have been given, the official and the unofficial reasons, but let's get to your thoughts, Mr. Amaechi.
Well, what is there to say about the former Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, who was sacked yesterday by his colleagues. And I dare say it was almost a unanimous decision, because when it was put to voice vote,
yep. The ayes have it.
3 times the ayes had it.
Yep.
And so, but for me, it was a long time coming. Obasa, you know, there is this saying by the 19th century writer, Lord Acton, that power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Obasa is a typical example of what my people, the Igbo people, say. That we have a proverb that goes like this, that when a god begins to misbehave,
show him the wood he was carved from, or the tree.
Will tell him the wood he was carved from. Obasa was only a pawn on the Lagos political power chessboard. But because he had started making money for himself, acquired power, in quote, he started seeing himself as also a kingmaker. And that illusion collapsed yesterday. I'm sure they say he's vacationing abroad. By the time he comes back...
He's probably on his way back already.
By the time he comes back, Obasa will not have 2 people visit him in his house. I can assure you that. That's the way power, politics is played in Nigeria. There's only one power center in Lagos. And that is the Bola Tinubu Center. Every other person is an appendage that is used to further the ambitions of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whether he was an ex-governor or now that he's the president. So Obasa was used like his predecessor, Ikechukwu, was used to checkmate the governor on behalf of the principal of the major power broker in Lagos, who remains Bola Tinubu. Now, you know, if you knew what transpired between Ikechukwu and Fashola, there was a time when the powers that be in Lagos wanted to stop Fashola from getting a second term. Ikechukwu, as the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, was part of the major team that were championing it until Lagosians stamped their feet and said they wanted Fashola to come back for a second term. Now, Ikechukwu, you know, has been almost insulting everybody, insulting Sanwo-Olu, and he was able to do that because he had the backing of the powers that be in Lagos.
You're talking about the former speaker now, the one we just
interviewed him.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean that even this immediate former speaker now, Obasa, also played the same role.
Yeah.
Insulting Sanwo-Olu. In fact, if you listen to the address he gave when Sanwo-Olu brought his last budget or so, it was all hubris, arrogance. And I was asking myself, where is this arrogance coming from? Who on earth was Mudashiru Obasa before he became speaker? And he was only privileged to be speaker for 10 years, was into his third term, because the powers that be in Lagos wanted him. They saw him as a useful tool to advance their own political project. Obasa, as a person, is nobody. I'm sorry to say, in terms of the power equation in Lagos State, and which was what transpired yesterday, the people got tired of him and they threw him out without any incident.
So just have you address this point. So we just spoke with, you know, the former speaker, Ikechukwu, and, you know, his perspective is that since Mr. President, you know, moved to the Federal Capital Territory, the political scene in Lagos has been without control. It's been without a leader. It's been without, you know, someone who at least puts people in their place. And that's, you know, one of the reasons that, you know, Obasa maybe then grew beyond, you know, or flew too close to the sun and was burned. Is that something you also believe? Does Mr. President's absence from Lagos, you know, also lead to what we're seeing now?
I disagree. Like I said earlier, I just said now, whether Tinubu as ex-governor and even now as president, he determines what happens in Lagos State. He determines what happens in Lagos. What happens in Lagos State is as important to Bola Ahmed Tinubu as what happens to Nigeria, if not more important. And part of what led to the downfall of Obasa may be, I'm using the word consciously, maybe a fallout of the 2027 Lagos politics. There are insinuations out there that the president's son, Seyi Tinubu, is interested in the governorship of Lagos in 2027. Obasa's body language also seems to indicate that he's also interested in that post in 2027. You know, if you noticed last time, the president's chief of staff, Gbajabiamila, who was also mentioned, came out quickly to debunk the decision and said it was his political enemies that were trying to pitch him against the presidency, that he was satisfied with what he was doing in Abuja, that his hands, as it were,
are busy.
Were full, and that the politics of 2027 will take care of itself when the time comes. That is a smarter response from a smarter politician. Obasa grew too big and began to see himself as a power broker in Lagos and started making utterances that we are not politically smart. It is also part of what brought him down. So it's not true, in my own thinking, that Bola Tinubu went to Abuja as the president of Nigeria and therefore is not interested or not hands-on as per what is going on in Lagos State. It is not true. He still calls the shots, and everybody differs to him as far as the politics of Lagos State is concerned. He determines who gets what in Lagos State.
All right. I don't want us to spend too much time talking about this, but I think that you've been able to cover a number of the areas you know, that we hopefully would have loved to cover. But let's talk about the big story in the Nigerian Tribune. No guarantee yet there will be no more grid collapse, Power Minister says. He says the system crashed only 8 times in 2024. Insecurity, vandalism, poor infrastructure remain major threats to grid. The ministry plans solar lights, CCTV for highways, and of course there is Senator Hits Discourse again, wants privatization reversed. It looks like we're going in circles.
Well, I think I will say that the minister said the obvious. He was frank, that there's no guarantee. It would have been an outright lie for him to say that the problem has been taken care of, because nothing has been done to ensure that there will be no further collapse. But whether it collapsed 2 times or 3 times, or even the 8 times that he agreed, I think it is absurd for the power minister to say only 8 times.
That's a bit
which means
connected.
that the power grid, a nation's power grid, even collapsed once in a year, should be enough concern.
Yeah.
It is, you know, we have the tendency of doing this in Nigeria, where perhaps the terrorists, like they did yesterday, will kill 40 people, and we say, some people will say 60 people were killed, and those you would think are responsible men will come out to say only. And
that it was worse, you know, under the previous administration.
Only 10 were killed, and that before now, that it used to be worse. So the way we look at things in terms of the numbers, as if one is not bad enough. One collapse is bad enough. Only 8 times. The minister should not have said that. But the truth of the matter is that what is it that is being done to ensure that going forward we will not continue to have this grid collapse? The only thing they have succeeded in doing is to use semantics to begin to explain what is the fundamental problem. Now it is no longer grid collapse. What they are telling us, it is tripping. So it is no longer grid collapse. What happened 2 or 3 days ago, they said it is not a grid collapse, that some part of the power distribution facility tripped.
Yeah.
What difference does it make whether it collapsed or it tripped?
There was national outage, you know.
People were thrown into darkness. So we don't have a hold on the power sector, as it were. And as long as we continue to treat power as an item in the exclusive list, as it were, a law, I think, has been passed, even by the National Assembly, that decentralized, that made it now the responsibility of even the states
to generate their own power.
To generate their own power. Why is there no state that has taken it up upon itself? Look, power is a utility. It is the responsibility of the government. That is why power is like education. It is like any other utility that the government has the responsibility to provide to the people.
Right.
So the government is shaking from its responsibility when they are talking about privatization, they are talking about this, they are talking about that. It is the responsibility of because it is a security issue.
Yep.
Power is a security issue, and unless the government begins to appreciate this, we are going nowhere.
On a lighter note, all power belongs to God. Amaechi, thank you so much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. It's always a delight to have you.